If you are using GitHub Advanced Security, then chances are that you're also using static code scanning with CodeQL. There's a distinct error that you may run into when scanning Python and potentially other languages when that code is stored in a hidden folder. Let's look at the error, what may be causing it, and how you can fix it. Here we go. One of the features in the GitHub Advanced Security product is code scanning, specifically using CodeQL. I've put some relevant links in the description below. What I want to talk about in this video is an error that you may have encountered when you have code in a hidden folder, such as a dot folder on a Linux or Mac machine. But before I do, I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel. That helps so much in getting the YouTube algorithm to a wider audience. Okay, back to the topic. When you run CodeQL code scanning against a repository, you may encounter an error that says something like CodeQL detected code written in Python but could not process any of it. Now, I've only seen this error when there is code in a hidden directory, such as a dot folder on Linux. So why does this error occur? Well, as far as I can tell, what is happening is that the detection of the language to scan doesn't seem to care if files are in a hidden folder. However, the next step after detection is to extract the code into a CodeQL database. And this extraction phase does seem to care if the file is in a hidden folder and it can't get to it. Now, obviously, there's a simple solution. Change the folder to not be hidden. But that isn't always an actual option. The other solution is going to be to use a configuration file. So let's jump into a demo, show this error occurring, and show how you can use a configuration file to solve it. Okay, so here we are in my test repo. So I have a hello-github.py, very simple Python file. Just writes out hello GitHub. And I also created a GitHub Actions workflow because I'm using the advanced setup for CodeQL, where I'm going to be doing my code scanning. And we can see in this workflow, I trigger it manually. On the analyze step, it is looking in this case only for Python. I check out the repository. I do an initialize, which initializes CodeQL to get it ready to run, and then I actually perform the analysis on the perform code analysis step. So with my file directly in the root, I ran that workflow. So if I go to Actions, I can see here is where I ran that workflow with the file directly in the root. It completed successfully. If I dive into the workflow, then you'll notice under the perform CodeQL analysis that there's an extraction phase. It extracted the Python code, and then there's a running queries phase where it ran 42 different queries. So it's working with the Python code just in the root. And it would work the same if the Python code was just in any regular folder. But if I go back to the code tab and I switch to, say, this branch, now you'll notice that I have actually moved the Python code into a dot hidden folder. So this is a folder that I've named dot hidden. Python code's in there, but this folder would be hidden on, say, a Linux machine, which is where my scanning is running. So if I go back to my Actions tab and I look at, in this case, the workflow when I ran it against that particular branch, we can see that the workflow failed. And if we go into the we can see a couple of things. First off, if we go back to the summary page, we can see we got an error, encountered a fatal error. Exit code was 32, and last log line is CodeQL detected code written in Python, but could not process any of it. So it found the code, but it couldn't do anything with it. And if we go into the actual job, we can see that the extraction phase ran, but when it tries to finalize that extraction phase and then actually run the queries, it fails because it didn't actually find the code because it was in a hidden folder. So one of the solutions to this would obviously be take it out of a hidden folder, put it back in the root. And if you do that, or in a non-hidden folder, not necessarily the root, it'll find the code and be able to scan it. The other option, though, is you create what's called a configuration file. Now, I named mine CodeQL-configuration.yaml. You can call it anything you want. But what you can do in that configuration file, and there's lots of different things you can do, but one of the things you can do is force the paths that it's going to scan. So in this case, I'm forcing it to scan the root, and I'm forcing it to scan the .hidden folder, which is where my Python code is. Now I have to make one other change in order to make use of this config file. I have to go into my workflow file, and under my initialization, I have to add a line to point it to the configuration file so that it will pick up the fact that I want it to scan that hidden folder. But now, since I have the configuration file and I've told the workflow to use that configuration file, if we go back to actions and we look at running this against branch 2 after we have made that change, we can see that it passes. And again, if we go over to the perform CodeQL analysis stage, we can see that the extract ran successfully and each of the queries then ran. There you have it. We have seen how this error occurs, have a little better understanding of why it is occurring, and what the solution is. One caveat I have for you. If you are using the default method of implementing code scanning, you can't specify a configuration file to be used. So if you are having this issue, you will need to switch to the advanced code scanning method where you have access to the GitHub Actions workflow file that is running the scan and can specify the configuration file to use. If you got something out of this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so more people can find it. Thanks for watching.